Hello, Internet. Welcome. Are we live? You're making a face.
Yo, we're live.
Okay. What's wrong?
I don't know what's going on, but we're live.
Woo!
Did that fix it?
Welcome to a bar brawl. I'm in the camera now. Okay, yeah.
It was working fine 2 seconds ago, but there you go.
Anyway.
That just caps our week off because it's been that kind of week. Camera issues all.
That's beautiful. Okay, welcome, Internet, to Discover RPG, the chat/advice show where we take your questions about RPGs and D&D, substitute them with their... Yeah, chat vice. Ooh, I like it. We take your questions about RPGs and D&D, substitute them with our own, and try, despite all forces of the universe, to stay on topic. We, inspired by last week for our sub drive, which our sub drive just ended yesterday. How about this? Let's start with current events. Sub drive ended on April 30th, and
well, the Mueller report came out, and
Mueller. It's Mueller, but okay.
I like Mueller better.
Anyway, so we just wrapped our 2-week sub drive with Nerdsmith, and we want just to take a moment to thank everybody who was so incredibly generous with their time if they participated or watched the streams, and our community one-shots who were incredibly generous with their money if they decided they wanted to support us, and just in general, anyone who helped make that sub drive super special and exciting, and I can't wait for next year. I think this was a really good trial run for what we want to be doing on Nerdsmith more regularly.
I agree.
Speaking of, inspired by our sub drive money special from 2 weeks ago, Logan and I have decided to tweak a little bit of the formatting here, and we're going to try at least a few themed episodes. Try to keep us on track. We can muse and flutter about in topics, but we're still on topic. So I think it's a good plan. Today we are talking about taverns. The old chestnut of you all start in a tavern. We're going to talk a little bit about we do have a session plan. It's just not up. We'll just take our word for it. We have a plan.
The session plan is up. It's a picture of a tavern brawl.
Yeah. So
Are we gonna do more than that in the future? I thought we were scrapping that.
I don't know. Let's
we talked about. We did 3 weeks in a row without it. They were some of our best episodes.
We still have it written though. Okay, so some of the things we're going to talk about are maybe the storytelling reason and value of taverns and starting in taverns when you're running a campaign. What is the point of it? Are we keep messing up?
No, Nightbot is still, even though it's not authorized to do anything, it's still doing.
It wants to help, Logan.
Evident.
So we have, like I said, we're going to wax on about the idea of taverns. Why do you use a tavern? Why has it historically been used? Then we're going to talk about a couple of homebrews that we found, talking about tavern games and things like that. Then we also have a whole bunch of our RPG Toolbox segment, all grouped up into one thing, a bunch of generators and resources that you can use when you're trying to plan taverns, menus, drinks, all sorts of things that can be used in this little hub of entertaining that is the medieval or fantasy tavern. Does that sound good?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Awesome. So let's talk a little about taverns. I'm sorry, I cut to the quick here. So pretty much everyone who's run a D&D game has probably experienced this trope. I use the word trope in a completely neutral way. There's nothing inherently wrong with starting in a tavern. It is a very common theme. I think there are lots of reasons why taverns are incredibly useful as a setting, especially as a starting setting. It's especially if you're dealing with a fantasy setting in which there are small towns, or just in general it's a much less metropolitan location. A tavern's going to be the hub of entertainment. It's going to be, people getting off of work and going to socialize. So you're going to have a lot of people blowing off steam. You're going to have adventurers coming into town looking to again, blow off a little steam. So I think the picture in the middle of our session plan encapsulates that very well. But it's also a place for people to talk, and not just character building where you're just shooting the shit as friends or as coworkers. It's also a place to find out information. It's a place where rumors get started, a place where people talk about they've been out in this other town and found out that one of them, like a house there, was haunted, and they talk about that with each other. It is a place that encapsulates a lot of different tools that a DM uses in order to impart information, introduce character, and build your story. So I think a tavern is a very valuable item in your toolbox as a storyteller.
Yeah. Besides all of the tropes that you can use that are traditional, using taverns in non-traditional ways really it's a place where most people who played D&D feel very comfortable. They seem to think they understand all the social rules and contracts that go along with being in a tavern. So it is an excellent place to start putting those on its head and twist things, because they will be comfortable there. And that is another excellent thing, the difference between a tavern and an inn, because that is something that I consistently get wrong all the time. Angela, I have no idea. I can't remember which way it goes. Do you remember? A tavern is a bar without an inn, without a place to sleep, I believe, and an inn has a tavern, usually a pub or something attached to it. Is that what it is?
Pardon while I Google. Okay, an inn is a an inn is a tavern which has a license to put up guests as lodgers.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So an inn and a tavern both have food and drink available. Not necessarily, but they typically do. But an inn has the extra thing of being able to house lodgers.
Oh, also in the English language, a tavern was once an establishment which served wine, while an inn served beer and ale. And an inn does not have to have food and drink to be called an inn.
That makes sense.
But if they want any more than 1 star, then they have to have food and drink.
So, Logan, do you utilize...
Yes, Angela.
Like I don't know this answer. Do you utilize the you start in a tavern mechanic?
Sometimes. Yeah, I have. I use it fairly rarely though now, especially when
except for Countless, where we perpetually end up there at least.
Well, you always end up there. I don't think you guys started in a tavern.
No, but the idea of it being a home base, a gathering spot. It's like the Cheers.
Well,
mechanic.
a lot of you think no matter what happens, even in Cinderhaven with the Countless Heroes, 16 players, the idea that they all lived there was a little ridiculous. We had to have some people traveling in and out, but a lot of campaigns have to deal with travel, and the first thing you have to do when you get somewhere is get lodging of some sort. But that's kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever had anyone, maybe Mike did, but I'm not sure that I've ever had anyone say that they were staying with family or have some alternative means besides either a tavern or camping outside of the city. That'd be kind of a neat way to twist that, is to give a challenge out there. It's like, what ideas could you come up with besides staying in a tavern or staying at in a tent city or out in the woods by yourself?
You can incorporate that I know a guy house rule.
The Beer Forge is a favorite twist I've seen of yours. What twist exactly? The hot irons and the beers and the magical things they do with it? Is that what you're talking about there, Secondhand? It's like a 15-second delay right now, so we need to.
I didn't see the chat at all, so I didn't realize it was even happening.
That's okay, because my brain keeps going, you should look at chat over and over and over again, because I'm very tired. Yeah, so that's evidently Loki, who plays Lannick and Connor. Used to play Lannick, now plays Connor in our stream. Was the one that came up with that, and it's actually a real place that they do this hot iron. You can actually buy kits on thisiswhyimbroke.com or one of those places. That you can.
However, we did take some artistic license with what they did.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But the caramelizing of the sugars is the whole point, evidently, besides making your beer warm. But yeah, you can actually buy camping supplies. They're basically iron rods that you throw into the campfire and then dip them in your beer. And they're the perfect size to fit down into a bottle, evidently, which seems like it would make it overflow. But whatever, teach their own. So you can get those, and it's actually a real thing that some places do. Although the validity of it being anything more than a gimmick is suspect at best. I've been hanging around Jason too much. that sentence was a very Jason sentence.
I mean, I had 3-syllable words in it, or 4-syllable
Right.
words in it.
There we go.
Let me see.
That electro swing only takes so much.
Yeah.
Besides, we need our tavern. What was all that? What just happened? Oh, okay.
I got it covered.
Brothel. This word thing is very weird.
Yeah.
You can't say brothel? Sorry about that.
I will allow it. No, I like that. Okay, so that's a combination of a tavern-like place, a place of entertainment and lodging, but also connecting it to party members. Sorry for people not in chat. Dire Bear GM said that in my show, the party members stay at the Silken Sash, a brothel owned by one of the party members' mother, while in Lanceport, one of their locations. Brothels, in my opinion, completely acceptable alternative to the tavern. I personally, so what often falls into the idea of fantasy tropes, the brothel is an opportunity in my experience to expand a little bit on the gender representation in your games. You don't need, a lot of times traditionally the brothel's just a bunch of scantily clad women and that's it, and it's just where the dudes go to get whores. But the last couple times that I've had brothels in my game, or like in my story building or in games with Logan, they're equal opportunity. They don't have any sort of hang-ups about gender or sexuality in them. I have at least created a couple of characters who have background or just character plot lines that involve a brothel or getting to know employees there, whether that's through business transactions or just through learning about them or being from the same social class or things as that. So depending on the tone or the maturity level of your game, it's RPG. Let's be honest. The maturity level is not usually going to be that high.
It's a much smaller sub spectrum of the spectrum of maturity. Yes.
Yeah. I gotta move the chat. I have to look across my window now because I have I
was gonna say,
awesome
you keep looking over
monitor.
your right. I'm like, that's a wall. There's nothing there. You've never
That's
looked there
not
before.
true
It's freaking me
anymore.
out. I know you added a monitor to get hip with the drive. You need a 50-inch television screen and a third monitor, and you're good to go.
No, I should only have to look a little bit to my right.
Just get a Google Glass, then you would never have to look down. Get that stuff beamed right in your eyeball. I'm sure that's safe.
Let me see. What did I do here? Oh, other reason to use a tavern or an inn or something as your place. Man, we're gonna get we gotta stop talking about brothels. Everyone's getting tagged in chat. But so another reason to use inns or taverns is, as Dire Bear GM said, job posting boards, place where freelancers, fantasy adventure locations are nothing if not gig economies. So the idea that there would just be basically a job board posting in the inn, because that's where all the adventurers go to have drinks or stop on their way through town, that's where you'd want to get the most eyes on it. So it's a good resource. Oh no, Air D&D. That's really
Love it.
That's actually not a bad idea, though. That you have a town that does not have a tavern, but the people of the town rent out their homes to people passing through. Then they get direct rent. They get like it's a way of financing your family. I kind of boarding house. Sorry, what I was originally saying was one of the other reasons to have an inn or a tavern as your main location, or at least your starting location, is can I call you out a little bit, Logan? As a
if
DM,
you hadn't said my name, I probably wouldn't even have noticed because I'm so tired right now. So please go ahead. Sorry.
As a DM who improvises a lot, Logan,
a lot is an understatement.
As who leans into improvisation as a primary means of storytelling, Logan often is prepping things on the fly. And what a tavern allows him to do is lean on his players, his role players, to shoot the shit while he preps something. Like, we understand that he might need time to prep, and so we talk, we fill in each other about how our day's gone, we build social plot lines with each other, and it's just a way of encouraging, especially if you have a very role-play heavy table. Not everybody does, but you can have your players help stretch out that time you might need to prep an encounter or to prep an NPC that you might need to introduce. So the tavern in and of itself is both socializing opportunities to talk to NPCs, but it's also socializing opportunities for the PCs to talk to each other. So that's a more meta use of the tavern, where, people love to, at least we do, love to talk about what they ordered off the menu, and somebody will, bogart somebody else's fries, and like just lots of ways to use a sitting in a restaurant. I mean, there's a reason sitcoms use it. It is just a base location where all of the socializing can happen.
It's more like a home-based location.
I like this though, Chad. The idea of an entire village that caters to adventurers for their livelihood. They make drinks, food, rooms, equipment repair, and purchasing. Like, they are literally just a rest stop. Everybody in the town contributes to an adventurer economy. I really enjoy that.
Something that I don't.
Boomtown. That's a great way to put it. Like, they crop up around a dungeon. Yeah, very good, Chad. I like it.
Well, like, I'm sure it's been mentioned, but the Yawning Portal is a good example of that. But one of the things they don't talk about is when you have adventurers coming out with mass amounts of treasure from these dungeons and things, the economy and Boomtown, I think, is the right way to talk about it. It's going to explode. Now, I don't usually tease with the economy too much because when I did my questionnaire for a lot of my games, that's not something the players are really interested in. So I just kind of gloss over a lot of that, unless it's a really, really major event. But I just don't want it just to be kind of ambiance. But that is something that would absolutely happen. Prices would inflate incredibly in that area, very, very quickly. I was like, what now? I can't hear you. You're not making any noise.
I'm not touching my button because I have a yellow box.
Your hands were up.
I have a yellow box. It's fine. I was just, it's fine.
Oh, you're back.
There we go. Yeah, everything paused for me, so it's fine. Hi, guys. I'm alive. I promise. See, Dire Bear missed our episode talking about breaking the economy. They believe it's an
that was
issue.
2 episodes ago.
Yeah, we got called out. It might have been from Diary, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I think that the tavern gets, I think, a bad rap as a concept.
Secondhand has a really good point there. Sorry, it's a bit of a lag spike. Next time you freeze, I'm just gonna freeze too, and then they'll blame Twitch and not your internet.
Yay!
Then it won't be your fault anymore.
I love it. Okay, so I think taverns get a bad rap when it comes to using them as the entrance mechanic of your game. I have started becoming a little more attached to the idea of entering a story with relationships already established, even if it's just like a one sentence thing of how they know each other. I'm not calling out in a bad way, but Matthew, who is in chat right now, Matthew Siebert did a very good job of this with his Wild West one shot that we did for the sub drive this week. Putting characters on the spot and saying, all right, you had us roll on a relationship table and then had us pick a character that applied to. So you hold a grudge against somebody in the party. Which one of the party is it? Or you would put down your life for this person. Which one of the party members would you step in front of to protect? So already building those relationships with the characters. So I'm getting more attached to the less of the idea of you're all strangers and you all meet in a tavern. Partly because if you don't have a set of people that are really comfortable role-playing, you're going to have a lot of, for lack of a better word, dead air. People just not sure how to... In my early games, that happened a lot. Where we were all just starting, and obviously everyone has a learning curve.
Right.
But yeah, it can... You want to set your players up for success. Yeah, and I think maybe starting in Meteor Rest makes a little more sense. But you could use a tavern still. Y'all are in a tavern brawl. Roll initiative. Or you walk them through moments or something as characters. And that's how you all meet. You all end up in jail because you got into a fight at the tavern. And then you work from there.
One of my most memorable openings of games was... we sat down, we made our characters, and we sat down, we got the pizza, the Funyuns, the Mountain Dew, all of that together. And the very first thing that I said was roll initiative. And they freaked the hell out. I said it much more loudly and boisterously because they were with me and not on microphone. That would sound horrible. But I made it dramatic. I had music queued up. I think I may have made the lights dim. It was crazy, and they got really excited and they didn't know what was going on. I busted out a map, some minis, and I had told them and I checked with them beforehand, but I had told them that their characters have gotten so blackout drunk that they have no idea how they got into this fight. They just know that there's pain now. You all have disadvantage in all your rolls. And at the time it wasn't disadvantage, it was -2 or something. And that's how we started when they were in this fight. That they ended up eventually finding out that they started.
Let me see. Yeah, so yeah, the idea of, like anything, taverns can be used for good or ill, and effectively or not effectively. Let's see. What are some other things that I had in my notes? So, just real quick, general listing of some of the things you typically want to prep or think about when you're building a tavern or an establishment. Basically, when you're building a business in your story. If it really, you can go as broad or as specific as you want. It really just depends on where you lean as a DM. Some people like making menus. Some people like having that, or some people like having improvised moments where they just sort of build the tavern as they go. I really enjoy walking into a space that is fully formed, but I also really like it when, say, with Logan's games, he asks us questions. I prefer more of the like Socratic method, everybody talking together, but he'll sometimes put us on the spot and say, "Hey, give me what's the top item on the menu."
So
or
I
what's
can
the theme
explain.
of this place?
That's actually a good opportunity to talk a little bit about that. I put people on, quote unquote, on the spot because I want everyone to have an opportunity. And when I do it as more of the Socratic method, one person, maybe as represented in Shenanigans last night, will throw out 3 options without anyone else getting a chance to throw anything out. So that's why I put things on the spot, is because I want everyone to have an opportunity. I always start with the quieter people. And after a moment of them going, I really don't want this, please stop, with that face, I usually say, you can ask anybody here at the table. So what I want to make clear in the future, during my session 0 is when I do put you on the spot, you're always welcome to throw it out to the rest of the party. And we just need to find a way to make that socially acceptable. I also want to make it clear that when I do ask for volunteer things like that, nobody should give me more than 1. That could probably be a good way of handling that, because I don't want to take away other people's opportunities just because they may be the type that's going to allow someone more boisterous to talk, because I'm usually that boisterous person. Yeah. And I have a bad habit of throwing out multiple ideas at a time.
Did I do that last night?
Yeah, it was you.
Okay.
I
think part of it was, I think it was partly like I was trying to keep us on story.
You were trying to keep the podcast pace inside of our stream. We were all trying to do that a little bit last night. It was kind of fun, especially with Matthew Siebert's Unicorn edition. That was insane. It was such a good episode, guys. You should go watch it. 1992 when you were 16. All right, that's pretty. All right, you're older than me. It's rare.
All right. Well, let me see. See, this is what happens when we don't have something completely planned.
You have 12 things in the Airtable. Send me the link. You said you had a bunch of questions and things. Let's talk about, okay. So we were specifically talking about building taverns. So going around and asking the players what they do. Now, let me tell you one of my big, not secrets, but one of the big things that I always do, one of the questions I always ask is I ask, what is unique about this? What quirk, what little strange thing does this tavern or bar or inn or whatever have? Because nobody tells stories about the normal things. That's my rule. Nobody ever tells the stories about the normal. Oh, we went to a bar and it was nice. They had like little checkered tablecloths and they were nice to us. And I got a beer. Okay, well, we gloss over that story. So why are you hanging out in this bar? What is unique about it? What is amazing about it? That is the question that I want to know. And I think it was maybe Mike. I maybe I'm wrong. I have no idea. But in Countless Heroes, we came up with one before. This was in prequels. Never happened during game. We came up with a bar that was basically Applebee's, but they had the quirk was sanctioned food fights. And so I had to figure out how to kind of work that into this. So instead of fighting each other, I created a wall of basically sparring dummies, wooden dummies with swords and pointy helmets and things along one wall, and there was like a little trough wall there at the front, and you could call your waiter over, and they would watch you throw things across the room at these dummies, and you would earn points towards future purchases. And this was one of the places that we had. Almost every single one of the workers hated working there. As a matter of fact, I think you guys got one to quit on the spot and walk out. The only person that ever stayed there and seemed to appreciate it was a mob plant, I believe, and that was just his job, was to wash dishes and then do the underhanded things they needed to do there. So it was a very interesting sort of bar. I liked it a lot.
See, Matthew Siebert in chat and I went two totally different places when you said it had checkerboard placemats. Matthew went, a bar with checkerboard tables where you can play chess or checkers with the stranger, and the loser has to pay for the drinks. It's a good place to make
that's a
friends.
good idea.
I like that a lot. I also thought, when I think like red checkerboard tablecloths, I think like mom and pop Italian restaurants.
I went picnic.
But for some reason, I thought like, all right, so you have a family of kobolds and they all run this restaurant. And for some reason, it's like a little Italian place.
But it's weird Italian. Like the angel hair pasta is actually angel hair.
Ooh. It's just hair. It's just really light hair.
It's just hair. That's all.
The kobolds found an Italian menu that didn't have any sort of instructions for how to make the meals, so they only have the names to go off of, and they just had to improvise.
Colin Kelly just introduced us to a game about kobolds, where the kobolds had to distract their enemies. That was the only thing they're good at, is distractions, while they tried to steal the loot. I think we need to adapt this game to make a kobold restaurant where they have to distract people from how terrible the food is, while the other ones make them eat it.
I like it.
or serve them more, or steal their money to pay for the drinks and things.
Okay, so Tic Tac Doe has a good question. How do you come up with in-names on the spot? Is there a secret or a technique to use? 9 times out of 10, I use generators. But that's the secret, is we have no secret. But
FantasyNameGenerator.com. We love them.
Hold on.
They're not a sponsor, but we
have
love them.
I have an entire section devoted to tavern generators for this episode, and I will share all the links.
FantasyNameGenerator.com. Seriously, it is that's like my literal go-to every single time. The problem is I've used it so much that all the names I can pronounce, I'm reusing now. Or their player names. I like going through it like, oh, Saldana, that's a great... Oh, wait.
Yeah. That's when you realize your players also
use it a lot. Oh, look, there's that person's third character.
But so here's one we didn't do. We didn't use a generator for. In Countless Heroes, the place that has the metal bars that get superheated and then dunked into the beers is called the Beer Forge. It's a name based on the premise of the quirk in the actual location. So if you we also have it's not the Olive Garden. What is it?
The Olive Grove.
The Olive Grove, which is basically an Olive Garden. So this is the idea of just...
It's a really fucking expensive olive.
Then that's just a nice Italian restaurant.
Do you remember Demolition Man, when all restaurants became Taco Bell and then became really famous? That's basically what happened here. The Olive Garden became a Ruth's Chris, and you got stuck with 50 gold.
I feel like the kobolds in Olive Garden, I feel like kobolds will be much more at home at TGI Fridays. I feel like
I agree.
They need their flair.
Or Applebee. Kobold bee.
So Matthew has a good go-to method of doing it on your own. The Tolkien method, which is the and then a gerund verb and then an animal. So, the prancing pony, the laughing lamia, the winking skeever. I see where those are from.
I thought we were talking about PC names, but yes, if you're going for tavern names, since we're talking about taverns,
Fantasy Name Generator also has a tavern name area.
I was going to say, it has everything, but I've used the Tolkien method. It's a tried and true, but it also can become very tropey and very kind of old. It gets old after a while. I turn to my players and ask them to come up with something ridiculous. They've really never disappointed me.
But you could always, I mean, I don't know if there's a method to this, but like I literally just thought up the name of having a tavern called Three Spades, and it sounds like gambling. It kind of it doesn't have that Tolkien structure, but you can name things almost anything. You really don't have to worry about it too much. But if you need a shorthand, we can start talking about the generators that we have, and then also the Olive Grove idea. Take something that the group knows, turn it into a joke, Like, the place doesn't have to be dumb. It could just be use the reference in the real world example to set an expectation of what that place might be like. Ooh. Easing the badger. That's...
Chad, go away.
You didn't even need to tell you who said it?
I didn't even need to look. Didn't even need to look.
It doesn't make it right, Chad. All right, so I'll for Tic-Tac-Do's benefit, I will share a couple of the generators that I've used and I've found when I was looking around.
Yeah, go for it.
So Inkwell Ideas has a random menu generator, so that's a little bit more specific, which I think is very delightful. It gives you the idea of you can vary by menu, the variety of the menu, the pricing, whether or not there are random foods in it. So it gives you pricing, which is awesome. So you don't even have to do the work for that. If somebody actually wants to know how much it costs to do something, this menu gives you the pricing. So I'm a big fan of that one. So that's Inkwell Ideas. I'm sure many of you... Yes, there's very likely multiple resources that help you name things in the D&D supplements. But these don't even have to be used for D&D strictly either. As always, Don John. Don John's a great resource. They have a tavern generator. They have a fantasy inn generator. Which I'm loading up just to see if my internet stays and actually run it. Come on, Don John. I'll load another one as well. But Don John has a... Yeah, go ahead. Nope. Playing polite chicken. Go. Don John loaded. I will take over because Don John loaded before you gave in.
I win!
So, Don John's inn generator has a lot of shit in it. It will make the name of the inn, the location, a description of it, a description of the innkeeper, a menu, the type of a list of 6 patrons that are in the bar, and then rumors that the party could find in that bar. Oh my gosh, use this and mine it for ideas. It is super awesome. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, it's very
good. Dire Bear, I don't really use a floor plan for inns and taverns that much. I mean, with the Beer Forge being like the best example we have, the Beer Forge is really unusual because being that the quirk is the forge at the center of the bar, we created it to be a circular room. So it's all surrounding and built off of this idea of the forge as the forge as a center location, and there are no corners in it. He's just talking about the idea of floor plans with
yeah, I know. I saw.
Okay.
So with by the way, as another side note, DMs Guild is a great resource for a lot of crazy stuff, and you can support creators that way. But for floor plans, usually I am a strange traditionalist. I go with the ones that come out of the boxes, you know, the books and things, usually the old school books. They're rectangular. If they're small, they've got one door, usually stairs off to one side, a bar with an open floor plan. And the stairs go up to a hallway, which leads to some rooms. Or if it's if it's a really large one, I usually have the door in the center, and they'll have 2 rooms, one off to the left, which is usually a stage room, and then one off to the right, which is usually the drinking room. And the stairs go up in the center of it off to a 2-winged, 2 or 3-story building. My favorite simple layout of that, if you've ever used the Tolus, Ptolus, referenced by Monty Cook. Is it Monty Cook? Crap, my brain just shut off. If it is, I think it is. He did something called the Pythonus House, and it has a lot of really cool. Nope, not the Pythonus House. The Ghostly Minstrel. The Pythonus House was the adventure. The Ghostly Minstrel. It's a little 3-story building with a ghostly minstrel that plays ghostly instruments up in the attic, which is kind of neat. But it is a fun tavern. You can buy the entire floor plan. It's part of the book, although the book is only on eBay nowadays, and it's like 4 inches thick. But it was an incredible module if you never played with Tola. So it's just a whole city. It's a whole fleshed out city.
One of the other, very similar to Don John, Wizards of the Coast actually has a tavern generator. You can tell by the formatting.
Love machine.
You can tell by the formatting that it is not a website currently easy to access on Wizards' website, but they haven't taken it down. So
yeah, because they have they had a whole suite of tools like their dice roller things that are still live links. I'm not sure if they know or not. I'm sure they do, but just doesn't seem like it. That you can't get to unless you Google it.
So again, goes through tavern. I got a really cool. So I got just generating the tavern that I had. The tavern name was it's just called Adventuring Bed. And its bartender is a female human who is a 9th level cleric. My brain read it as 9th level spells, so I thought that was way more impressive when I initially read that. Yeah, I think
she has to heal you after what she does to you. So
and then interesting clientele: a group of dicing rogues and halfling tourists, which just kind of reminds me of the rats from Muppet Treasure Island.
That's another thing that I always try to do, and actually I realized I use a lot less humans than is probably traditional, but I don't use a lot of humans. I like to put in the weird races, and I kind of cycle through them, and especially at taverns when you're going to be around a place where everyone is going to show up eventually. They're the social halls, they're the place where you get the drinks, they're the place where you get food. For the most part, everyone in an adventure is probably going to show up at a tavern at some point or another. So it's good to have that good mix of folks that can kind of flesh things out. If you just I don't know, there was this setting, Kingdoms of Calamar, which was they had like 5 or 6 different human races, and each with their own language, and like a 2% population of everything else, and like 0 magic in their world, or very low magic. And while it was a very interesting thought, if you wanted to play very traditional European medieval fantasy, I guess it was great. But I don't know, none of that really appealed to me.
That's okay. And then the last generator that I found is from a website called D&D Speak. It's not really a generator. Or no, it is. It is 100 tavern encounters. Not sure what to do in a tavern. Not sure what sort of hooks to give them. Check this out. There's some really neat ideas in it. There's NPCs that show up, events that are being run at the tavern that might give people some opportunity to interact with people or do contests. There's let's see, just like rumors, people who are in need of help, all sorts of stuff. There's actually like rules for different competitions in here. They give you the DCs and targets for things like a knife throwing competition or a drinking competition.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's some neat stuff. Oh, you know what it is? It's a list of 100, and then the button actually just pulls one out.
Yeah, they actually have a tavern treat generator as well.
Cool. Then yeah,
I just happened to find that while I was looking for the other one. The Flaming Dragon, a spicy beer that causes the user to breathe fire when they burp. I like that.
Oh, okay. So let me do that one. So this is a great big random list of tavern drinks as well. By Orican.
That was the one I wanted to talk about. That's the one I use all the time. Arkin's Lair at WordPress. It doesn't look like, I mean, he still updates it. Oh, you already posted it. Sorry. It's that important It really is. Now, there's a
Sure.
couple of things on here you want to be a little careful with, because there are some things that could be among some people's lines and veils, including a drink. These are all magical drinks. So one of them could, well, for the most part, a lot of them are magical. One that can make somebody kind of fall sexually attracted to another person to the point of kind of a fervorish desire that makes them kind of act out of turn. Another one where there's some sex change going on, gender change. There's just some things to be careful of. But other than that, it's an incredible list that I use pretty much in every one of my games. Although we used it so heavily in Tolus that in this game I used as kind of just a little flavor teaser here and there. But like, let's see here. One of my, I'm just gonna go to a random one here. Well, let me zoom in a little bit. My eyes are not what they used to be. Let's see here. Crazy Al's Gnomish Knockout Lager. A transparent green liquid that constantly bubbles. And then it goes on and gives you that's the color, then gives you a short description, an effect, and a price. So on this, the drink description is that this is an infamous gnomish brew known for requiring a waiver to be signed, absolving the tavern and brewer of any damage and or loss of life before it can be served. It comes in a black bottle with the multiple warning signs written in common, gnomish, and dwarvish. It tastes absolutely foul. So it's Jägermeister. So upon consuming, the drinker must immediately, wow, this is one of the bad ones. Upon consumption, the drinker must immediately make a DC 15 Constitution save. I adjust those depending on the party strength level and things. If passed, the drinker immediately gains a temporary +2 boost to strength and Constitution, max of 20 until the next long rest. They have advantage on Constitution saves until the next long rest, and has resistance to cold damage until the next long rest. Seems like they could have said that a little easier. The drinker is also immune to the drink's effects for 24 hours. However, if the drinker fails to save and does not roll a natural one, they are knocked unconscious for 2d6 hours. Upon regaining consciousness, the character has disadvantage on all ability score checks, skill rolls, and saves until 2 long rests have been spent. Should the drinker roll a natural one, he or she immediately drops to 0 hit points and begins to die.
Goodness gracious.
15 gold per bottle is how much that costs.
Gosh. Whew. Let's see here. I had something grabbed. Okay. I wish I was more interested in doing this. I have had some problems with it. But one of the I sent you a link, Logan, the homebrew review, if you want to take a little time to look at it.
I did have one more random chart.
Go for it.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
So one of the drinks on this chart makes you go to a Reddit page to roll on a different chart. This is called the carousing chart. As a matter of fact, it is called the bigger, badder, longer, and uncut D100 carousing table. Upon rolling on this, it is going to tell you how and where you wake up. And if you ever have somebody that likes to drink to excess, or you want to put in an extremely powerful drink, this is an excellent chart. I will put a link.
Please do. I have a good story.
That is, don't put the. So like, I'm going to pick a random one here. Let's go to 93. You wake up in the communal lodge of a sororal order. You are wearing feathers, lace, and a full face of makeup. Your buttock is sore and bears bruises in the same shapes as the cutouts on that paddle hanging above the fireplace. And you have no idea how you got there.
I have gotten one in particular that was very interesting.
This could be another triggery thing for some people. Please be careful.
Yes, I got, you wake up in a temple. Several monks have gathered around you and are praying for your soul. I distinctly remember getting that one. That was funny.
That was a very good one. Was it Joe who got the one where he wakes up with a
that was Heather. Heather got
the guards tied up? No, I think it was Joe.
Oh, maybe.
He was staying at Heather's. At
Heather
Soxy's
woke
house.
up with the spouse of a
noble.
you know,
Yes. The spouse of a noble. So this is a very good chart. If you want to play out that what happens when you get blackout drunk and go out for the evening. Again, that can be a line or veil for some people, so please use it carefully. but it is a lot of fun when used in a good comedic fashion.
Dire Bear, a tavern that exists in multiple points in space and time. We have a shop that does that, sort of.
I use that trope for a lot of my magic shops. Usually I'll have one being that can do that opens magic shops, and it's a reason why he's able to do this is because he can open in multiple places all at once without having to deal with the overhead and costs of having to do with a lot, because magic shops are going to get 1, maybe 2 sales a month, but they're usually going to be very big and expensive. But the cost of maintaining a shop and things, but you get the right magic, you set it up permanent, long term as a hobby until you get going. Eventually you can make a pretty amazing little shop, and that's what I usually have done. But yes, a tavern would work great like that. I've never done it myself, but that would be an excellent one.
That's a really good way of setting up, depending on how you can get out of the tavern. You could have some really interesting things on your job board because of that premise. That would be really interesting. You could have people from all over the place posting jobs, and you go to this tavern to find those jobs. Yeah, no, I like that a lot. All right, well, it's 4:00. Do we want to talk a little bit?
4:00. We have been for like literally an hour. Actually, we've been talking since Cash Corner. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. All right, so as we were so we're gonna take a real quick pin.
You're gonna have to do this because I'm still stuck in. I will do the entire spiel. Wow. All right.
That's good.
I'm tired. I'm so tired that I'm turning into Mike Tyson.
Anyway, just putting a pin in the conversation. We will come back to taverns in a moment. Just paying the piper. Not even paying the piper. Talking about people we really are passionate about and really like and are really glad to be partners with. So we are sponsored here at the network and here on Discover RPG by World Anvil. World Anvil is a online world building tool that is designed for authors and RPG storytellers. It is an incredible world building and campaign management software with some really, really impressive premium features to help you either as a private world builder or as somebody world building for an audience. There's some tremendously cool features. It's a service that you can try for free. So you can go to worldanvil.com and see what it actually can do for you. And members of their guild get access to both a really incredible community, but I believe the Discord server is free though. They do have access to a really incredible community of other guild members and help craft the direction of World Anvil and help build that community up. So highly recommend that you check them out at worldanvil.com. Light up the forge. Thank you, Samurai. I love those emojis. Specifically,
the guild members get points to vote on the newest features, and the community itself gets, I believe, one feature a month that they get a vote on, and then that will be a feature that gets pushed through. So it's a very they're very, very passionate about what they do, and they're constantly updating and adding new things.
In addition to World Anvil, we are also sponsored by Die Hard Dice, who are a really, I gotta come up with a better word, but all of our people are really incredible. So
they're incredible. They really are.
They design and sell metal and polymer dice sets. They are absolutely beautiful. They are coming out almost constantly with a line of hand-painted like multi-tone paint jobs. I think they just showed their Phoenix set, which was really, really pretty.
Gorgeous.
Yes, I don't have my autofocus on, so you can't really see it very well, but this is the Mythica Battle Worn Gold. It's hefty. It's
I'm gonna
pretty.
Get a dice cam set up.
Right? Just show the tray. Which I also got from Die Hard Dice. But yes, you can, because we like you, and you deserve fun things for being our audience. If you go to Die Hard Dice and you haven't ordered from them yet, or you haven't used our special code yet, you should go do so. You can use the code DRPG when you go to buy Die Hard products, and you will get 15% off your purchase. If it's your first purchase, or if it's just the first time you're using the code, you get that one-time discount, because we like you very much, and we want you to also have very pretty dice, because we're nothing if not enablers of that particular habit that so many members of our network are afflicted with, tragically, the dice hoarding disease. So go check out Die Hard Dice. Yeah, I wasn't calling her out. Go check out Die Hard Dice
all day, every day.
She's not ashamed. She has no shame regarding dice.
She's changing her name everywhere to the Mother of Dice Dragons.
Yeah, that'd do it. So please check out Die Hard Dice, and please check out World Anvil. There is a reason that we've partnered with them. They are incredibly positive people with making really amazing products that are worth your time and worth your eyeballs looking at them for a little while.
She has followers. Gabby changed her name to Baby Dice Dragon. My wife, as a Dice Dragon, has followers.
The cult has begun.
Is she a deity, or is she's
a cult leader?
Patron.
She's a cult leader.
We'll have to watch Gabby and see what powers they manifest. If I see a witch bolt, I'll know.
Let's see what develops from this. All right, thank you for sitting for Cash Corner. We very much appreciate it. Demigod, very possible.
There is one downside to being with Die Hard Dice. My wife wants everything.
Yes.
And the number of dice, do you remember
last year?
Willy Wonka, the Chocolate Factory, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Which was the good one? Which was the first?
Willy Wonka.
Was it? I thought Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was the first.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is the more recent one.
Oh God, okay. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Oh God, it wasn't that. No, I am mixing up my horrible children. No, I'm thinking of what's his name from Harry Potter, about
fictional children.
Horrible fictional children.
Dursley children or Malfoy children?
No, Dursley. Where he's like, oh, there were 27 presents last year. Now I need 28. My wife's like that with dice. The quantity is all that matters. And Die Hard makes such high quality, amazing things. And of course, while the value is much better than most other metal dice companies, the cost is still a little up there. So when my wife needs a new set of dice, they often, to increase her hoard and keep her strength and youth. I seriously think it keeps her young. It's amazing. And I think that, that's... Anyway, my budget for dice went up. That's all I'm saying.
It's the tragic case of too much of a good thing.
It's way too much of a good thing.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for Cash Corner. Let's get back to talking about taverns.
Okay. I need a drink.
Right? Seriously.
Yes. She would. She absolutely would. Now she's going to want to. Thanks. Thank you for that.
So I want your thoughts on this, Logan. I don't have as much of a connection to tavern games. So Anne Gregerson, who we've reviewed before on this show, has a tavern games supplement for 5e. I just put the link to the DMs Guild place. The link to DMs Guild. So Matthew just checked it out. So it is a relatively comprehensive look at different types of pre-built tavern games that you could play.
Very cool.
They are organized by card game and dice game, and then there are rules built in for each of them.
Nice. Now, are these games that have existed, or are these...
I suspect there could be a mix. Because, I've heard of Farkle before.
Sparkle is a very, very interesting game. It's a kind of solitaire Yahtzee style game, if I remember correctly. You can play it against other people too. It's a point scoring game.
Yeah.
You have to bank while you continue to roll dice, and you got to re-roll any of the ones you want to re-roll, and then you have to bank it before you basically crap out. Yeah.
They also have a roulette game in here.
Okay.
But it's interesting. Like I said, I'm not as interested in this particular mechanic as a player.
Sure.
Partly because I don't like card games that much. As someone who married into a family that loves card games, trust me, I've tried to grin and bear it.
Card games with traditional decks or all
traditional
card games?
Okay. Traditional decks.
So what I would recommend for somebody like this is back when I ran the original Tolus, when I was playing with 16 players or 14 players all in the same room at the same time. We had a very tense gambling session, and Wizards of the Coast had just come out with a game called Three Dragon Ante. It's a card game that had rules for playing as your characters. So we live action role played out the gambling game with brief pauses so people could cheat or manipulate the cards through different things. So you could make an insight check, and if you got really well in your insight check, that allowed you to redraw a card and put one back or something, or sneak. You know, there was one that you could sleight of hand, you could take extra gold. It had rules built in to be able to use your skills while you were actively playing the game. So it was a lot of fun. It was very cool.
So there are what's really neat though in this PDF is that there, in addition to the games, there are also gaming set rules. So you can have different types of dice. You can have common dice. You can have weighted dice and different levels of weighted dice, which provide different percentage chances that they will roll on the number that you want. So you can add a percentile dice to your attempt to see if your weighted dice work. And then they also have an investigation check DC to tell if they are weighted. In addition to that, there are also playing cards that can be marked at different levels, like simple marks or expert mark. If you're dealing with marked sets, you get advantage on checks you make to cheat or read other people because you can see what the cards are. And then again, there's an investigation DC to see if they are marked. Yeah, like the simply marked cards, you have to make a DC 10 investigation check to see that they're marked. A expertly marked, you have to make a DC 20 investigation check to determine that they have been tampered with.
Okay. So as somebody who collects playing cards, and may or may not have several expertly marked decks, and knows how to mark decks in different ways, I would agree with that to a degree. I don't. 20 is supposed to be really, really professional expert level. I'm not sure that we did in a fantasy setting. Well, I guess you have Magic, but in a fantasy setting that you would have the ability to do some of the things necessary to do to mark cards like that. The other problem is that marked cards are excellent when you have them in your hands. But reading them across the table, especially when somebody is holding them in a fan, is nearly impossible. And it is actually impossible for 90% of marked cards, 99% of marked cards. So it's more of, I can't hear you.
If they're making that determination when they're pulling a card from a deck, you might have more of an opportunity to see.
Yes, but the problem then becomes most of the time marked decks are used for people like mechanics and people who are going to manipulate the cards in their hands. The problem with that is if you don't have a confederate at the table, someone that you're working with, you win when you have the deck, and that looks very suspicious very quickly. So you have to have a second person or even a third person at the table going after one or two of the marks. So I would give bonuses in addition to the more people you have, and this is one of those areas that unfortunately I have a lot of expertise in. So
give them a little bit of a break, is what I'm saying.
Right, exactly. So this is actually a good point about We talk a little bit about the know-it-all at the table. This is exact great particular moment about that is the idea that that you're going to run into a player occasionally, or the DM who knows so much more than anyone else at the table about a particular subject, especially if you have somebody maybe that does like weapon forging at the table. That seems to be a big one. If they do that as a hobby, they might have a lot to say about the types of weapons they're using, how much damage they can do and things. I've run into that one several times.
At that point, stop playing fantasy games if you're going to be
tell them to go play Rollmaster. That's the game they want to play. If they want to play for super realism, tell them to go play Rollmaster. It'll take you 30 minutes to get through a single round of combat, and there you go, you're happy. A single turn of combat often, if you don't really know the game well. But yeah, in general, you just got to let people like that know that they're going a little overboard, that it's a game and that you're going to use the rules as written. And that's a great opportunity to tell somebody like me to shut the hell up.
Dire Bear GM asked if you've been banned from casinos.
I've never been banned from a casino. I don't play card games at a casino. I'll play 28. Oh my god. That's how tired I am. That's why I lose all the time, because I'm always playing 28, not 21. No, I'll play blackjack or 21 occasionally, but a little 3-card poker. But I don't. Nothing where I handle the card. Although in casinos they don't let you handle the cards anymore. I have gotten some questionable looks and been talked to because I've talked a little too much at the table, though, about marked cards and things.
All right, so I think it's okay. I will say this: it's very well formatted. I very much enjoy the document itself. It's very easy to read. Anne Gregerson, I would highly recommend that you check out some of her other work. We reviewed previously her supplement about punny monsters. We had a lot of fun with that one when we took a look at it. It was the proceeds went to charity for that one, or half the proceeds went to charity for that one. So I highly recommend check out the link for the Tavern games, click on the author, go see some of her other stuff, as well as this game, this one. If this is a feature that seems to appeal to you, go for it, take a look. And yeah, I did find one other homebrew supplement being sold on Drive-Thru RPG, not DMs Guild. 100 Things Overheard in a Tavern. Basically just a list.
Hide your children.
Hide your kids, hide your wife. What?
To cover their ears.
So these are basically just inspiration sentences to a little more simply formatted, just basically a list. Things you're going to find if you Google online. I do have a pay what you want, so if you do like it, please tip your creators. Same with Anne Gregerson. She clearly worked very hard on formatting her document. Highly recommend you show them that their work is valued. That's a big thing I want to make sure everybody knows. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of these are just like little random comments that you could have someone say, or things you could just have someone overhear in a tavern, such as, that blacksmith is making a suit of gold armor. Well, at least I think it was gold. Anyways, it was really shiny. Or, I've never seen a mermaid, but I saw a goat swim once. It's random stuff. It's silly. It's worth taking a look if you want a little inspiration for random conversations that are happening in your tavern. Let's see.
And often those are the ones the players are going to grab onto and they're going to run with, and that's okay. Just run with it. And you know what? If you ever want to,
I'll talk about it in a moment. Finish, Logan.
I would say if you ever want a lot of practice in taking improv moments and twists and turns, run a stream where people have to pay money to give you an NPC idea. Because when somebody drops money, cash in your pocket, pays for your pizza or whatever, and you now owe them an NPC interaction, you have to make it very memorable. all of a sudden these little, I'm like, oh, little NPCs. I saw another stream do this. They did like they were hilarious. They did some little moments with them. It was great, whatever. But I all of a sudden was on the spot. I was like, oh no, I've got to do something memorable here. I can't just have them walk in the scene and then walk out. Get a lot of practice that way.
Yeah, that's good. Dire Bear is a GM after my own heart. Adventuring idea. The party is the owner or workers in a tavern. I want to play fantasy cheers, guys. I really want to. I want to run at least a one-shot, if not a short campaign, in which they run a tavern, and that's the restriction.
You're doing Fantasy Love Boat right now, and I am so excited about it.
Dire Bear.
If nothing else, all right, Dire Bear, let's talk after this.
Yes.
If nothing else, I would be interested to see a concept pilot run about a fantasy cheers. How you're gonna I'm very big into one room movies.
We put them on the spot. Oh, okay.
You applied to be on the network. Let's talk. I'm very into these one room movies. There's a lot of them out there.
They're called bottle episodes.
But
even though they're movies.
Okay, I didn't know that. Maybe I find
the bottle episode is an episode of a show in which the episode happens to only take place in one location.
Yeah. Now, Cheers is basically that, even though it had 3 or 4 locations in that location. But a lot of these are like literally one room. I'm trying to remember. There was one called The Interview, I think, and it was a bunch of people interviewing for a high-end job, and they were asked they were told you have to answer the question, and then there was another one about aliens, and 30 people were put into a room, and they had to.
There's that M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Elevator.
The Elevator, I actually liked. I love all of M. Night Shyamalan. I really have no problems with anything. I think people got to the point where they were like, oh, he's gonna have this super epic twist, and there's only so many super epic twists you can put. I loved all of his movies. I loved The Village, and if you didn't like it, that's okay. You can not like what you don't like, but I loved The Village. I also like Waterworld, so you can get off my back. All right, so
no one was on your back.
Waterworld is one. Waterworld, I always get shit for. I always get looks when I say I like.
But now
Waterworld.
you get to play Raft and live out your dreams. So.
Right? I forgot where I was going with all this.
Don't know. You started defending M. Night Shyamalan pretty hard.
That's why I stopped him defending M. Night Shyamalan. Dude got a bad rap, but then he did Avatar. So
So let's just take a moment to brainstorm a little bit. So the tavern is not a place where the party all meets. It is a place where you exist. It is your world, for lack of a better way to put it. I've thought about it a lot, how to run a game like that. I have a lot of notes about what kind of things you could do running a game that's purely in a one location. It would revolve around, I would imagine, one of two things. Either a lot of social encounters, a lot of it's going to be talking and role-playing, and deciding whether or not you want to make a mechanic out of that or just have everybody talk. You could probably do both. Or there's a lot of fights break out and you have to pay to fix the bar. I do think my idea was to have it be a 24-hour tavern. It's a coffee/beer brewing place. They brew both. And it's called Brewed Awakening. And it's run by a night shift and a day shift, where one group's running it like basically a breakfast place, and one's running it like a traditional fantasy tavern. That way you never have any problems of it's after hours. It's like, no, it's always happening. There's always something. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So I'm really.
I would think
that
you
idea.
would need some sort of Chekhov's gun, sort of like the yawning portal has the frickin' yawning portal sitting in the middle of it, a gigantic hole that goes down into a dungeon, and there's constantly adventurers coming in and out to want to raid that hole. This is a horrible metaphor for a bar. But yeah, so you've got this danger that could come up at any moment. You've got the adventurers constantly coming in, shady individuals looking to profit off of them. You got a lot of stuff happening. So you need some sort of hook like that, something to kind of help capture it, or even just run it in the Yawning Portal. Be the people that own and run the Yawning Portal. That'd be kind of neat. But yeah, find some sort of hook for it like that would have that,
either an internal or an external hook. I mean, you could always have it such that you're dealing with, if you could do so many things with that concept depending on the kind of game your players want to run. You could do a politics game if the issue is like there's mobsters in town that are trying to get you to pay protection money.
Health code violations.
Health code violations. Oh God. OSHA.
Actually, I'm very excited about that concept all of a sudden. I'm like, slumps everywhere. They're in the walls. They're under the cabinets. They're everywhere.
So basically, you all, like, everybody who works at the tavern has to, like, put on your masks, make sure there's some Vicks Vapor Rub in the mask, and y'all gotta go kill the flums, drag them out of the walls. But that's a good example of the idea that if you took all of you, I mean, Logan, you ran businesses like brick and mortar businesses. You know, like the checklist.
Right in the ground. Yep.
Well, you have the checklist in your head of all the shit you have to deal with on a day-to-day or year-to-year basis. You could convert almost any of those things to be something with a fantasy twist.
Yeah, I ran a game store for 3 years. Like, this is full of trolls. So yeah.
But anything from like customers that are pain in the butt to trying to host an event to get people to show up at your tavern. The goal, just you set up
join
goals.
the chamber.
Yeah, just
and serve wine. But you're a tavern, so I guess that's kind of a given.
You have one of the have all the NPCs doing different tasks in the tavern. They have different responsibilities, and so they have different focuses on what they want to spend the money on the tavern on. Or like have one of your PCs say there is a hook for all of your PCs. Every single one of your PCs wants to pitch to the owner one thing that they are positive would make this thing a rousing success, and they are constantly trying to get that boss to give in on that one thing.
He's only got the budget for one of them.
Right.
So you're like fighting like constantly. That could be the entire first arc or two.
Just trying to convince them that your idea could work and help.
And then he dies and you all inherit the bar equally.
There's the first campaign, right?
We're done. We got a year's worth of material out of that.
But yeah, you've got to set the expectation that nobody leaves. This is your day job. This is where you live. I mean, why would you leave for extended periods of time? You could maybe keep the town as like the most you would go, but set that expectation with your players that the premise is everything that happens in this bar, because this is, where things happen. So you'd set that expectation, because it would very easily run off the rails of them going, well, fuck it, we'll just solve it ourselves. Let's go across the country to go, I don't know, fix the trade route where all of our beer is being disrupted. Something.
True. But then you have to decide if it's an inn or a tavern, and that could be the hardest question of all.
That sounds like something that one of the players is trying to do. We've got to turn this place into an inn. So like, you know how dirty...
We've got to shut down the inn.
You know how dirty this place is? Why would someone want to sleep here? No, I'm fully in support of this. Yes, at minimum, Dire Bear, I'd love to run a private couple of one-shots or something with that premise. I think it would be
we got to run a pilot, so let's see what we'll come together. We'll do it. We'll make something happen.
Another suggestion that we got from our friends at World Anvil, because we literally were shown a copy of it, is the Pocket Companion, a tavern guide, which is for sale from Wisdom Save Media. I put a link to their shop in the chat. It also includes a Overheard in a Tavern, Plot Hooks and Rumors, Bard, Brewers, and Bandits is another like sort of small version. So you can buy the entire book though for £10. So yeah, you should definitely check it out. I haven't gotten a chance to read it, but our friends at World Anvil swore by this and showed us a copy that they had. So they kickstarted this book, I believe. So yay, small publishers. Excuse me.
You're excused.
So, what else, since we have a relatively active chat, what else do you want to talk about regarding taverns or inns or...
We get through all of our stuff?
Yeah, we did.
Wow.
Well, I mean, a lot of them are, a lot of them were sort of like, here's the list of resources we wanted to share with people. Not a tavern game, but there's a great game along with that premise of the store is the world. Okay. I'll take a look. Oh, that's neat. You own a shop and you send adventurers out to gather items in your shop. I think I know the game you're talking about.
You're an NPC.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's something you could lean into in that Fantasy Cheers idea, is that you can have classes, I guess, but your job is to run the bar. So you do have adventurers go in and out. You're the oh, there you go. You're the middle, not from chat. You're the middleman in the transaction of somebody needs help and they put a job posting on the board and the adventurers come in. You are asked by a person in the village that you're acquainted and friendly with that I need something done. I need the following type of adventurer for that job. And then you are required, as the people who own the tavern, to basically vet the people who are at the bar to decide who are you going to offer the job to. So turning the NPC system into sort of an active assessment of character that they have to make.
It seems like there's a... one of the YouTubers I watched played this game where you play a ruler of a kingdom, and the entire thing you do is you say yes or no to people about giving them money to do things, and your morality changes throughout it, and your gold pile grows, your city grows. You want to grow your city as big as possible. It sounds like that type of game. Like they show up and they say, "Oh, I want to go do this thing for you. I want 600 gold. Take it or leave it." And you have to say yes or no, and then that affects everything that's going on.
But, like, for example, so they have giant rats in their farm and they need help clearing that out. So you spend the afternoon talking to the different...
Sort the court. That's the name of the game. Sort the court.
Sort the court. Okay.
Sorry.
I'm going to write it down. So, the idea that you're told by a villager that they need a job done and they give you the parameters of that job, and you as the tavern owner are, like... The villagers had all these problems with, like, first come, first serve is a broken system, and I don't like it because I've been disappointed with people that have worked for me in the past. Can you please vet the people you give this job to and make sure they're right for this? And so, yeah, like Matthew said, do you hire the fighter to kill the giant rats, or do you hire the druid to domesticate the giant rats? Alternatively, you talk to people and you find out through speaking to them that one of them has a phobia about rats, and you're like, well, you definitely shouldn't get the job. Yeah, I think that's a fun, and this kind of plays into, my gentle D&D idea. The idea of the decision-making and the stories and the success of your quests, they don't always have to hinge on, do I kill this thing in battle? Or do I save the kingdom? They don't have to be that high stake in order to be engaging if you have the right players that want to explore a character. They don't want to have life or death stakes with their character.
Yeah.
By the way, one of the ones we shared, the random drink thing by Orikin's Lair. Orikin is also the creator of one of the systems that I would like to use for Gentle D&D. Gateway RPG. Which I have to go back and read. I just haven't had time to really take a look at it more. If you scroll to the bottom of that 100 or D100 things, you'll find Gateway D&D, which is a D20 tabletop role-playing game that is a simplified version of 5e. That it is meant to be easy to pick up. You don't have to memorize. There are no spells. It is freeform in its magic expression. You pick the type of magic you do, and it can be anything. You'd be like, I do water magic, or I do mind control magic, or I do whatever magic. You could say evocation or one of the schools. But whatever you define, you just tell the DM you would like to achieve an effect, and then the DM sets an approximate difficulty based on how complicated a thing are you trying to achieve. So it's a bit more improvisational and doesn't rely on having a spell list. It gives your players a lot more freedom to invent spells and such.
I like it.
But I'm going to play with Gateway RPG and the Black Hack, which is another sort of 5e variant that I really like. I'm going to mash them both together, and that's what I'm going to run Gentle D&D as.
Nice.
Not quite 5e. Something 5e adjacent.
Not quite 5e.
Yeah.
The Diet Coke of...
That is something that I'll probably work on our World Anvil episodes. I might work on Gentle D&D like that. Just to kind of keep myself accountable, but then show different things that I'm designing for it. I think that
I shall be your accountability buddy.
Hooray! I think you and I didn't get a chance to talk about that before stream started. I think you were starting to say this, but you didn't actually get a chance to, which was when we start doing our World Anvil streaming, we don't just have to do Countless Heroes. We can do other projects within.
That was during a meeting we had earlier, yes, but it wasn't on the show.
No, I'm saying before stream started.
Oh, okay,
we talked. You didn't get a chance to actually finish that sentence, and it's not secret enough that I didn't mind saying it here.
No, that's not secret.
We'll probably work on other projects, not just the RPGs that are on stream.
We have a lot of projects I want to work on, including because we're never ever going to find time outside of that stream. I do want to work on that one particular project, which we'll announce once we have it written down in a place that has a date on it. Because I don't want anybody grabbing that one from us.
Nope. Nope.
Also, the lawsuit, I'm sure, will require that.
No, it's not a lawsuit.
But yeah, so we're gonna do we're gonna be doing a World Anvil stream every Tuesday, off of the oddball weeks when Final Rights is not streaming, because they're only every other week. So at noon PST, we'll go for an hour and a half probably, and we will be just building stuff in World Anvil and world building and working on different games or different streams. We'll teach you how to use World Anvil a little bit and talk a little bit about all the amazing things that World Anvil does. But also we get a chance to work on some of these projects that we can't seem to find time to do. That's what we did for this meeting. These are the meetings that we really have to talk about these things, and now we just do them streaming.
I see the appeal of doing World Anvil streams.
Yes,
it's like, no, it's like I'm going to write a novel, and people might just watch me, or they might not. But I'm on camera, and I got to keep working while I'm on camera.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll talk about different projects, whether that's RPG campaigns, novels. I might work on some audio drama stuff. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff that we can work on. It'll be very fun. But that'll be not next week. Next week is Final Rights on the 7th. We will be starting that on the 14th. So on Tuesday the 14th at noon PST, we will be doing that. So we'll have back-to-back days of noon Discover RPG coming up. So I'm very happy about that.
And then we've got Countless Heroes, which will be ending in 3.5 weeks. The last week for Countless Heroes is going to be the 23rd, 24th, and 25th. That's going to be the 3-day finale of our 700-hour campaign by that point. It started in August. You do the math. And we're going to have a bunch of nights open up. So what the heck are we going to do with all those open nights, Angela?
Shows and ideas and one-shots and all sorts of cool stuff.
Very cool stuff.
We're going to be playing
around.
Only
that, we're going to be opening up Monday nights as well. I figured it sounded like you were trying to wrap up. So, I mean, are we wrapping or do we want to keep going? Or?
We've got 20 minutes. I was just talking in general.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were doing the wrap up. I'm sorry.
My goal is to not stop talking. Which when I was trying to think of,
I mean, not hard for me, but hard for some people, I hear.
When I was trying to think of another thing to talk about regarding taverns, I was running into a blank, and I was like, nope, just fill the air.
Maybe we need to make this an hour-and-a-half show, because this is like the third week in a row we've run out of stuff around the 20-minute to 10.
Well, I think that just tells me that we need a couple more longer topics. I tend to default to putting links and like suggestions for, go check out this website, where talking about the thing might take more time. I think if we had like one more idea for a longer conversation, we probably would have.
What types of things do you guys want us to talk about? Not necessarily, here's the first thing. what topics, what very general topics should we be doing? What themes should we do? We've done money. We did felt or puppets, or felted friends.
Which, by the way, I found a folder of a bunch of homebrews that I had forgotten to put on our to-do list that day.
Nice.
A bunch, like the patron.
That day was the time.
A warlock patron that is a puppet master. It had strings.
That's right. You told me about that. And then this week was taverns.
Magic systems. I like it. Magic systems.
And then next week is going to be preparedness or preparation. And we've already gone with our guests list. We've already gone through A through G, which leaves us with H. That is Chad from the Chaotic Goodness podcast. He will be on our show, Preparation.
I like it.
Pause for effect.
Ooh.
Everyone who's going to get it? Okay.
So yes, Dire Bear, I'm definitely adding magic systems to that. I like it.
Very cool.
I was
gonna say next week, real quick. So next week, preparedness. What we're gonna be talking about is how to prepare for game. What we do to prepare for game. We'll get Chad's take on what he does or doesn't do, and we'll talk more about my and Chad's, if I understand correctly, what we do to game on the fly and where the pros and cons of that are. And I'll tell you, if you've seen my style versus say Matthew Siebert or Jason Catrone's style, they are there's a lot of differences, and I strive to be more like them every time I DM, because while I may be good at doing the improv, their descriptions just melt me, and I want to be able to do that. So we'll talk a lot about that next week.
My suggestion for a theme is reptilian folk. I want to do an episode about the reptile races of D&D.
Is there enough there? That seems very specific.
I have comparing the differences. What are your rule differences between what those races look like? Because I think a lot of people mix them together. I have a how to homebrew the abilities of Dragonborn into a non-Dragonborn character. I have a bunch of ideas for how to do that.
What happens when a Dragonborn and lizard folk have a baby? It comes out human.
Yay or nay?
Lizards, yes. Dragons, no. No, wait, that's backwards. I guess they'd both have eggs.
Yeah.
I guess I'd do both eggs.
Let me challenge myself to come up with topics, and I will come up with topics for an entire reptilian folk episode.
All right,
I will do
sure.
it. Cool, because that was the big thing. Honestly, I think dragons count as that. I think there are PC races, and then I think dragons also count in that stuff.
Okay, so you're talking all reptilian reptiles in general, reptilian
dragons
things.
And dragonkin. How about that?
Lizard folk are not dragons.
Well, reptiles.
Those are actually probably more Aarakocra kids. We want to get tech.
Oh man. Scalies. Thank you, Matthew.
Scalies. I love it. We're gonna do a whole episode on Scalies.
I approve. What else? What else? We can talk. We can circle back to Tavern if we can think of something to talk about. So we talked about. All right, let's do our review then.
Oh yeah, we always do a review at the end of this. That's true.
So we talked about the idea that don't Google Scalies. I won't. We'll see if we can come up with a different term then.
Is it not a good one?
It's not a good thing. All right, so we talked about the idea, the premise of a tavern. What is the benefit of having a tavern as an opening scene? What importance does a tavern have? Oh, let's talk about this a little bit. Building a tavern into your world. What are some examples of the importance a tavern can have in your
Not bad.
in your world. Logan, question.
I was looking up scales.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna posit the question.
Oh, what's the question?
What are some examples of the role that a tavern could play in the larger ecosystem of your town? So we've talked about the idea of entertainment purposes. So it's the place where everybody goes to blow off steam.
Yeah.
It can be the way station for a. Oh, go ahead.
So, yeah. So if you were asking me, so I'm sorry if you had something. Okay, so my first thing, you say entertainment. My first thing is that a tavern, no matter how small, depending on the town, you know what they say, it's not what you know, it's who you know. If a tavern, no matter how small, was able to get the A-list guests, the A-list entertainers to come to town, they could easily become the hot spot inside of a town. So you say you get a famous bard or a court jester, a comedian to come in, and they are the one that everybody wants to be there for, but you have limited seating, they're only there for one night, you become known as that place. And so people want to get to know the owner of the place. They want to become they want to become endeared to that person, so they spend more time and more money there trying to get to know them, because they want to be the one that gets in the door when those A-list names come back. So that right there, all of a sudden you have a lot of political power, because you have a lot of power overall, just from an entertainment standpoint.
That's a really good example. That's a good example of expanding on the basically expanding on the economics of the tavern. What does thinking about like almost like The Sims or something, you break down actual city management, what resources do you have to help keep the people of your town employed, happy, entertained, and getting the ability to make money? So yeah, the idea of what's the ripple effect of a tavern being successful. So yeah, bring high name people in so that the town benefits from that tourism.
Daniel, hi buddy. Madcap is a very good friend of mine, one of my best friends. Hi, yeah. Daniel.
Daniel had a very good idea. It was actually the thought I had, which was the idea of using it as a council meeting place. It can be a seat of political power. It can be just, this is the biggest room we have where everyone shares space. We don't have a council chamber. We just all meet in the tavern. We meet for drinks after we've all done our day jobs, and now we're the town council. We're the village elders. We run the town.
A lot of times, although my understanding from my friends who are more historian than I am, that while the taverns, this didn't happen usually in traditional times, taverns can become sort of realms of peace, where if they have enough authority and enough power and strength, they might be, especially if they have magical ways, they might have the ability to stop all violence from happening there. And then all of a sudden, these places become neutral grounds, not only for political groups, but also for the seedy underbelly of the city.
That makes me think of Dresden Files. In the Dresden Files, there is a bar called Max Tavern that is a neutral ground for magic inclined people. Everything in the tavern, it's like this it's this basement tavern in Chicago. You go down these steps, and it's underground. The idea of grounding the place, every detail about the tavern is it is built with the expressed purpose of nullifying magic. So it plays with all the rules that Dresden Files as a series has, and shows. So the idea of like running water being a thing that can disrupt magic, so that there are lots of little water features all over the tavern. There's all of the chairs and tables and chandeliers and stuff are all in a certain count, because there are like sacred arcane numbers that can help focus a magic if you're trying to do like warding spells or something. So there's 13 tables, 13 lights in the ceiling, nothing electronic, because everybody here is magic inclined, and magic can fritz out technology in the Dresden Files. So this idea of everything about that place is designed specifically with the intent of being a neutral ground and forcing a neutral ground for everybody who comes in, no matter how magically inclined they are. So it's a neat place. Like the fairy courts might meet there if the heads of the fairy court happen to be in Chicago at that moment. So it's a neat premise. They did have a similar thing in Angel, but I don't recall if they forced it through magic.
Which
or if
that?
It was a Lorne's karaoke bar.
Oh yeah,
in Angel. I don't remember if they. Okay, so it was like you got booped out if you tried to do something.
There was a trio of sisters that would come and put up the barrier spell, Sorry, that's not good. I'm okay with it. They're the ones that would come in and they would speak in unison. They go, Angel, get all excited about.
I remember that.
You'd have to sneak away. Sorry, I got distracted for a second.
It's okay. No, but that's a really good point. So all right. So I have, you said power from entertainment, tourism, and larger acts can bring in more people to improve the overall town economy.
Yeah, the magical protection could become a place to kind of create a unique, a place where you would see quite a lot of different groups that come together that normally wouldn't.
If you want to see that in action to some degree, check out Final Rites on those alternating Tuesdays, because that's the premise, is we are a ship on the River Styx. We're like a big old riverboat, and it is designated neutral ground. We have demons and devils and angels that use that barge to have meetings and travel between the hells and between other dimensions. So we are designed to be that sort of entertainment. We're both an entertainment and a neutral ground for those meetings, and for those meetings to be pleasant and luxurious so that everyone's happy at the end of proceedings. All right, so what else? Council meetings, a political center, entertainment, and an economic center. You could expand on the economic center. How small do you want to make the town? You have a businessman or a business person who knows how money works, who's like where most people drink. They get off work, they go drinking. What if the tavern's also the bank for all intents and purposes? You're the money changer, because this is where everybody puts their money. I like that. Oh man, City of Heroes. I miss that game so much.
I played the card game. I never played the video game.
That was the only MMO I got really into. I love the character creator in City of Heroes. It was so fun.
I heard it was really good.
For the longest time, I had a bootleg version of just the character creator. It was a standalone exe file that had all of the nice. I was like, I just want to build them.
I still have probably 3 or 4. I probably still have 2,000 or 3,000 of the City Heroes cards floating around this house. It was a fun game, although once you broke down the mechanics, you realized there wasn't a lot of, like most superhero games, there wasn't a lot of variation. Like, okay, I can do this or that or this, and they're flavored differently, but they're just kind of the same mechanics.
We've talked about the idea of a, not related to this particularly, but the idea of like making it be a central location for betting. You could have it be a tavern attached. I think it was mentioned in chat before, a tavern attached to a fighting pit. So this is where all the betting happens. This is where all the deals get made. You like pull a Hunger Games. It's like, this is where you court. Oh, there you go. I'm going to be building this out in a novel I'm writing, that I have a pit, like a gladiator arena. It's very Colosseum-like. And in the bowels of this Colosseum, there is a bar. There is a lounge and tavern called the Lotus. And it is the place where fighters go to unwind, but it is also where patrons go to be courted by fighters, to be taken on as sponsors. So it's It's this sort of mix of a tavern. It's got the main character sees it as kind of a brothel because the fighters are all selling themselves.
Sure, yeah.
And they'll sell themselves however they need to. So if like a buff guy has to go hit on widows to get money, he'll go hit on widows to get money. But this idea of the tavern being a place of illicit commerce happening.
I think that's called the Bialystok special.
That's the Bialystok method, yeah. I was not thinking that, but it's very true. Yeah, I mean, think about the flavoring you could put in a tavern. Okay, Logan, I want to challenge you right now, really quick. This is the last thing we're going to do.
It's like episode 2.
I know, we haven't done a challenge, but new challenge. Dire Bear just suggested, look at things like John Wick. The hotel had a bar, but it was the place where jobs were obtained and deals were made for like assassin-y kind of characters. Pick a class, a standard D&D class, and design a tavern purely themed around that class.
I was like, oh yes, I love where this is going.
So rogues are already pretty...
But we can't... We have to do that right now.
Yeah, you can imagine a rogue.
I'm going to do this right now.
Yes, you do. So I'll give you some time. Common example would probably be a rogue. You have like a thieves guild place. You go underground, or it's in the back of a restaurant and you have to know a code to get in. It's kind of speakeasy style. You go somewhere and that's where you get secret jobs, or that's where all the people that's where the fences all hang out after hours. You can make deals, you can buy stuff and sell stuff, and it's just where all the thieves guild folks hang out. I think that's probably a pretty general, easy one to do, is bars are where illicit things happen. Sure.
I've got another fairly easy one, but I really like this flavor. It's actually based on a real place. A little bit. It's tweaked a little bit. But so this is a bard bar. A bard. And this is a tavern, no sleeping, in an old church. And as you walk in, you have to walk up these old rickety stairs from the ground level to get up to the second story, as the entire lower story is all the backstage understage area. As you walk in, the pews are still there as the seating, and but the stage has been retrofit to be much more of a performer stage, and it's large and the acoustics are amazing. At the back of this place, there is a bar just along one edge of the wall. It's a small but just beautiful wood oaken tops, and you can sing for drinks. If people are entertained, they will pour you drinks for free, and they do so. You just get a signal, a little hand wave that they just you go and you say, oh, this is what I like, and they write it down, and they just pour it if the audience is very entertained. That's the first one that came to my mind.
Well, in addition to the Bard Tavern, and I've talked about this before, but one of my favorite Bard themed taverns is from the Kingkiller Chronicle by Patrick Rothfuss. That the Aeolian is a not aioli like the sauce. It's Aeolian.
I was like, nope, Aeolian.
It's the Aeolian, and it is a place where bards and performers prove themselves by open mic night in front of other musicians. You are tested, you are judged by a jury of your peers about whether or not you are skilled enough. And when you pass that test, you get drinks. You can use that bar as a place to find patrons to pay for you to basically you live on our estate and write poetry, but my name gets on it, and I get to show the world that I lifted you from obscurity, yes, and made you a star. Oh my God, Dire Bear. I will get to that in a moment.
No, you won't.
We will extend this conversation. This is a good conversation.
I need a nap.
I'm sorry. But the idea of the best thing about the Aeolian concept is you get a set of panpipes. It's not Aeolian, it's Aeolian.
Can't not do.
You get a set of panpipes when you win. Like when your jury of your peers dictates you are a good enough thing. So these pipes are called talent pipes. And you are a talented musician. Mechanically, you are called talented because you were given talent pipes. It's not talented doesn't mean oh, you have a lot of talent, you're very good at what you do. It's a literal mechanic that means you have been proven to be a
I thought it was an Eric Coker named Ted. Talented.
Oh my god, that's a great bard.
That's
name.
the humor you pay for, folks.
Okay,
right there.
I'm writing
That's
it down. Eric Coker bard named Talent Ted. But I will say this. So Dire Bear came up with one good thing, and Madcap came up with another one, and we will talk about them at some point in the future. Maybe hold them off as maybe if we run out of time during shows, we can put a pin in it, and at the beginning of the next show, we take the pin out and we talk about the thing we forgot to talk about.
Whoa. Okay, so this one has to go out, at least as a teaser. Everything is a mimic except one chair. It is the most deadly game of musical chairs that has ever existed.
Yes, that's one of the things I want to talk about. But Madcap said, make a tavern themed on warlocks, and I want to figure that one out. I'm very excited by that idea.
What? We should do that as a DRPG World Anvil thing. That would be a great one to build.
Done. Madcap, you just came up with our first World Anvil build. We will do... Okay. You know what occurs to me, though? We can't really do the themed weeks. If we come up with cool ideas during show and then want to do them in World Anvil, we might...
It's a fiscal week. It's Wednesday to Tuesday. Calm down.
Wednesday to Tuesday. Okay, all right. I like it. Yes, we're going to try to build...
We have to move the stream, and I'd be willing to do that. That's what it takes. Alrighty.
Noted.
It is way past 2 o'clock, and I need a nap because I have not...
And I need to go to a bar, so, you know, opposite ends of the spectrum.
No, because I feel pretty drunk right now, and I apologize if this was a horrible episode.
No, it was not a horrible episode. In fact, we had more chat participation than I think we've had in a very long time.
Here. You're amazing.
Yeah.
It is a lot more fun when you're here, and if at all possible, another show that really deserves a lot of attention is Homebrew Studios, which is coming up. Matthew A. Siebert does a building a homebrew, kind of what we do, only he writes it down.
He shows you how to do it.
He shows you how to do it and works with you to build. Right now, I think he might still be fleshing out his town. He was building just a whole series of towns for a game that he ran for us too during the event. So you can kind of see all sorts of different aspects of this world coming together. It's a Old West style. So please come back at 5 o'clock PST. That is in 3 hours to see Matthew Siebert and participate along with us if you can, because that show
he
definitely
does eventually put everything in World Anvil, and let me put the link in. Homebrewia Studiopolis is his World Anvil world, where he puts all the things that he makes with everybody. So it's really cool. You can go check out what he's done before. I love it, and I really want to work with him to make his page pretty. It deserves it, and you definitely should check him out. If not, at least check him out on VOD, and then tell him you watch, and consider supporting him on Nerdsmith or something, because he's awesome.
Come by and help him build some stuff tonight.
Heck yeah.
5 o'clock's a great time to do that. Tell your friends. It's going to be a good time. I promise. It always is with Matthew.
Heck yeah. All right, folks. Yes, we love you too, Matthew. All right, so it is way past Logan's bedtime.
I would say it's way past my bedtime. I wish my meds agreed.
All right, everybody. So thank you so much. We're going to try to do more, like I said, more themed episodes. So we'll let you know in advance in the future what our themed episodes are going to be. And
we
maybe
might actually put out some posts about it.
That's true. And thanks to our friends at World Anvil, specifically Janet, I'm going to start looking into maybe having giveaways during these shows based on the themes. So we'll see what we can do. Maybe get some more people in chat and talking and stuff.
And thank you to our amazing sponsor, Die Hard Dice. We are supposed to be doing some videos for them, and we will get back to those very, very soon now that the sub drive is over. That was a big factor. WonderCon and then the sub drive, one right after another. They're very understanding and very wonderful. We will get back to those little short videos. If you didn't know, we do videos for Die Hard Dice. They stay exclusive for them until we do the next video. You can find it over on dieharddice.com/blog, I believe. Just go there and click the blog link under the About section, maybe. It's a little hard to find right now. I hear they're working working on that. And you can go see our first video over there, which Angela edited and made me look amazing. I will never thank her enough.
Editing's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Editing is so amazing. I love editing. I hate editing, but I love the results of editing.
Yes.
So please go take a look at that. Go visit Die Hard Dice. Use a coupon code DRPG, and you will get 15% off your order as long as you've never used that code before. If you have used that code and you are desperate for more dice, like my wife, you can go to Die Hard Die, or you can listen to some of the other shows on the Nerdsmith Network. Almost every single show on the network has a coupon code. You just have to listen to the show to find it. So there you go.
That's the trick.
That's how they get you.
All right, everybody.
Discounted dice.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, if we don't stop, I'm going to start turning into Pappy.
Yep, this is Discover RPG, if you didn't already know. And we will see you next week, noon PST on Wednesday, to talk about something else really fun involving RPGs and D&D. And you guys are awesome. And please, as always, do us a favor.
Where am I?
No. I'm not gonna end the story. I'm not gonna end the story until you.
You're not gonna end the story.
Nope.
I'm not gonna end your life, Pappy.
As always, please do us a favor and be good to each other, and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you, guys. Bye. You're amazing.